Welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling, and in this video we have some major news in regards to Braun Strowman. We have another massive update. This one is actually quite shocking, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned to that. We're also going to talk about AEW Rampage, whether or not things are looking good, maybe some suggestions for AEW to consider, and then also we got to talk about AEW planning a massive heel turn because it looks like it could very well do big things for the company. My name is Ango, this is Destination Pro Wrestling, and if you guys wouldn't mind, go ahead and click that subscribe button to get more videos like this. Alright guys, so we're going to start things off with Cody Rhodes. If you guys didn't know, Cody Rhodes is found in a very interesting program right now. You could see him on Dynamite go face-to-face with Malachi Black, and obviously we're starting to get a very interesting dynamic between Cody Rhodes and Arn Anderson. This is all done on purpose. It looks like AEW is planning to have the blow-off match, right? The rubber match at Full Gear in Minnesota. And if you guys didn't know, Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes have been having a very interesting feud, which now it looks like a wrench has been thrown into it because Cody Rhodes has just been turned on by Arn Anderson. Now, if you guys have been watching AEW, then you know that the crowd reaction towards Cody Rhodes hasn't necessarily been favorable. In fact, it's actually been the opposite. And this is all while Cody Rhodes has been playing a babyface. Now, the thing that everybody needs to consider here is that Cody Rhodes is an executive vice president, and his number one job that he's been trying to ensure is at the forefront of his personal business in AEW is putting over future talent. And of course, a lot of that could actually be done if Cody Rhodes becomes a heel and actually defeats Malachi Black. I know there's been a lot of conversation on social media about Malachi Black possibly forming a faction, but with the Nightmare Factory basically turning away from Cody, he is left all by himself and Brandy Rhodes. And it sounds like AEW getting Cody Rhodes to turn heel could actually be a bigger part of the story that ultimately helps Malachi Black. In fact, it could also be Malachi Black who kind of turns Cody. One thing I think that would be really unique here is AEW also turning Brandy Rhodes heel. I know this might not be the most favorable opinion, but if I'm being honest, having Brandy Rhodes help Cody defeat Malachi Black could be a really good way to garnish heat from the crowd, and it could also be a really good way for more fans to get behind Malachi Black. Despite the fact that Malachi Black's character is so dark and so evil, he's getting a major babyface pop. So this could be a really good way to keep the storyline fresh, and it could also be a good way to keep Cody in a prominent role that helps develop and put on future talent without necessarily going for the world championship. But imagine that. What if Cody Rhodes eventually got a world championship title opportunity, despite the fact that he's no longer allowed to do that? Becoming the EVP that starts doing everything for himself in storyline could be a really good way to get him over as a heel, but I think that is the necessary step to give the rub to anybody who is then feuding with Cody Rhodes. Might I add, Lee Johnson walking away with Arn Anderson? It's a big deal. And if you guys don't believe me, Booker T, Jim Cornette, many other people on social media are also calling for this heel turn, so I think it could be a really good business move for AEW if done correctly. All right, guys, we got to talk about AEW Rampage. If you didn't know, this past Friday, AEW Rampage at 10 p.m. Eastern drew 640,000 viewers with over 330,000 viewers in the key demographic. Now, this is actually the lowest viewership that AEW Rampage has ever had, and it's actually kind of bad. I'm not saying this in a bad way. You know, Rampage is a good show. We got Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson. But the thing is, the 10 p.m. slot Friday night is just not a good time slot. But AEW is also in a very weird predicament. They really can't go to Monday nights because Tony Khan doesn't want to compete with Monday Night Football. And plus, Monday Night Raw is on Mondays. You wouldn't want Rampage to get slaughtered at that time slot. You also wouldn't want AEW to start competing with NXT again on Tuesday nights because, again, you don't want to have this competition between both companies when it's obviously hurting both companies. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the viewership for NXT and AEW before the Wednesday Night Wars and after. And then also, Dynamite is on Wednesdays. And then the big thing here is Dynamite being on Wednesdays, Impact is on Thursdays. AEW and Impact have a working relationship. You can't necessarily move Rampage to Thursday nights unless AEW Rampage was a lead-in show for Impact. Now, Impact begins at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights, and I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea for AEW to have Rampage go on at Thursday nights, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. Especially with the idea that it is pre-taped, it could be a good idea for AEW, and it also doesn't hurt the relationship with Impact. If anything, it could even be a helpful thing for Impact Wrestling. I think the Friday night time slot is clearly not working here. I'm not saying, we need to panic. Obviously, 600,000 viewers is still a good number, especially being in that time slot. But we know that Rampage could be so much bigger and better if it's given the right amount of time. I just don't think wrestling works on weekends. And I think this is something that, we have seen over time and time again. We've seen SmackDown had to move, on different networks and stuff like that because of this. What do you guys think AEW should do with Rampage? At this point, I'm really not sure. I think the Thursday night, 7 p.m. time slot might be the only thing that makes sense. But let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, in our final story of the day, we're going to be talking about Braun Strowman. Another video, another update on Braun Strowman, because this is where things get really interesting. So now it's definitely being said that Braun Strowman has actually been in talks with AEW and Impact Wrestling. And all the sources are basically saying that Braun Strowman going to Impact Wrestling is the likely scenario. Impact has had a lot of want in bringing in Braun and Bray Wyatt, and Impact Wrestling is working very aggressively to bring in Braun Strowman, and a lot of people genuinely think that at this point in time, Braun Strowman will be at Bound for Glory. That means AEW would have been turned down by Braun Strowman because they are also in talks with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman also added fuel to the fire when he was talking about decisions on Twitter. Now, guys, if I'm being completely honest here, Braun Strowman going to Impact would be massive. They have a really good heavyweight lineup between Big Cass, aka W. Morrissey, and then you obviously have Sami Callihan, and you have guys like Eddie Edwards, and you have all of this crop of talent. At some point, Impact's issue is not the roster. Impact's issue is not the creative. I've been saying this forever. Impact's only issue is its production. If you look at 2014 Impact Wrestling, guys, it just looked so much better than it does today. And it's a shame because Impact's product is so good. And the fact is, they have the money to bring in Braun Strowman. If we see Braun Strowman in Impact Wrestling, trust me when I tell you guys this is going to be massive for Impact Wrestling, but it's going to be quite shocking to see Braun Strowman not sign with AEW because we know AEW could really do well with his big, giant presence. I want to know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Do you guys think Braun Strowman's headed to Impact? That is what the major belief here is. The belief is that Braun Strowman is signing with Impact with a debut as soon as Bound for Glory. Man, wrestling is getting crazy. A lot of times, especially in the last few weeks here on DPW, the narrative has always been Braun and Bray and Buddy Murphy going to AEW. At this point, if you're a wrestler, right, why would you turn down AEW? And that is the surprising information that I want to find out, because if you're not signing with AEW, there's got to be a reason why. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button and ring the bell. Get notified every time a new video drops right here on DPW.